Welcome to the TufFish Show. I am so excited to bring to you Andy Slinger. Andy, thank you for being on this show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you are the author of Super Twins, the Super Twins.
I'm indeed.
But I would love for you to start with how you got into writing to begin with.
Okay. Writing for me is a fairly new venture. I would say maybe the last year and a half since I started writing. And it's something that I've just, I sort of thought about, what can I do with my life that, I really enjoy, something that I thought I was good at. I just decided I was going to write a book. And then probably like a couple of months after that happened, the pandemic hit. So gave me the perfect opportunity to, kick into it and put my all into something.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome that the idea hit and then space, I guess, was created.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
my gosh. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
It's crazy really, because it just, I don't know, if it was kind of a gift at the time really, to give you all this time to plow into writing and learning the craft really.
Very true, very true. So were you interested in writing, prior to this, or was there were you the kid who always liked to at least write something over, like I'm the kid who would choose to turn in a paper instead of a standardized test, for instance. So I did.
Yeah.
Is that something like you, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a kid, I enjoyed writing, and that's what I connected with more than anything. I went back to my childhood in my mind. I thought, what was it that I really enjoyed and really got a good buzz out of, something that I could just sit there and, just scribble away and spend a couple of hours writing. So I think that's where it came from, really.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. So then how did you, so what was it like as you were developing the craft and developing your path, if you will, to create the stories?
Yeah, I think I just concentrated primarily on trying to write a good story. Really, I sat there and tried to sort of plot out a book the best I could without having any prior knowledge of doing it. And I just sat there and just gave myself a target, maybe 500,000 words a day, and just sat there and scribbled it out. I think it wasn't until I employed an editor, sent my script off, that I realized, how far I was off the mark at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And, it took me a couple of drafts just to, get it where I wanted to be. And I've been learning ever since, really.
So when you were working with your editor, what did that do for you? Did that?
I think more than anything, because my stories are kind of geared towards middle grade, so 9 to 12-year-old kids. I think the most important learning aspect of that for me was to be able to write for that age group. What does a manuscript for a 9 to 12-year-old sound like? What words can I use? What words can't I use? What would they understand? And getting into that child's mind. I'm quite lucky that my kids are 12 and they were probably 11 when I started writing it. So I kind of had a rough idea, but because middle grade it's in between. It's an in between kind of age. It's sort of not far off young adults, and certain themes that you can use it in that style of book, and not some in between that and sort of more babyish type books. So I think that was the hardest thing for me to grasp. What kind of language would these kids use? It's okay looking at my two children, but all kids aren't like my kids. It's I can write a book for them, but there's different ages, different abilities at that age, isn't there really? So I think that was the hardest lesson to learn.
I would imagine that would be, but so what was the passion to specifically write middle grade?
I think I looked at what I saw in the market. I mean, in the UK, primarily dominated by David Walliams at the moment. He's kind of, the be all and end all in middle grade literature in the UK. And I wanted to provide something a bit different. His books are all kind of very much like, toilet humor. And don't get me wrong, it's sold millions of copies. So it clearly works. But I wanted to provide a different alternative to that, something with a bit more of a sort of serious undertone to it. I wanted the comedy. I wanted stuff that people could enjoy, kids could laugh and have fun to. But at the same time, I wanted to have, a serious message lying underneath it. I always remember when I was a kid, I might watch cartoons like He-Man and Thundercats and things like that. And they always had a moral at the end of the story. Kids, they had fun, they enjoyed them, but they'd learn something from them. And that's kind of what I'd like to, have in my books. And at the same time, something my kids would enjoy themselves, that they were the initial inspiration for the Super Twins. So I want something that they can laugh and have on their shelf forever. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that they inspired the writing, and just, it sounds like the fact that it started during it started a little bit before the pandemic, but with the pandemic, and then writing for children, but in the age of your children, that it just felt like a nice blend to get the inspiration too, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. It just kind of all fit together, really.
So now you mentioned that you plotted, or you planned a little bit of it. So did you plan the whole thing, or did you plan enough to kind of get some footing underneath you, so you knew where some key parts were, and then just kind of let the rest go with what the characters took over?
Yeah. I think I did a bit of research, and I looked at kind of the basic structure of novels and films and things like that, because I've got kind of a background in media. So I looked at like a 3-act and a 5-act structure, and I went with the 3-act structure, and then I literally tried to write it down chapter by chapter. This is going to happen in this chapter, this is going to happen in this chapter, and just worked my way through to the end. And I had that basic outline. And then when I started writing it, it was nothing like that. That was kind of, I might as well just have torn that up and thrown it in the bin. But the idea was there, that's what I wanted to do. And then, I sort of discovered my writing style is just, it's great to have an outline. And you need those important points. The middle of the story is supposed to be a turning point in the character and things like that. So, I did have those sort of milestones in mind, but I think the easiest thing for me to do was just to write it down, just get words on a page. This is my word target, get that down on the page, and then I can edit it, and then I can change it how I want. Read it as a whole, and then you can see where there's gaps in the story or things that need fleshing out. And you can get other people's opinions, like editors and stuff like that, and they'll help you and guide you that way. Nobody knows how to write a story and be like, an expert writer. All I want to do is do the best I can, and every time I write a story, to be better than the previous one. So over time, I want to develop into a great writer, but that's going to take time and effort and honing my craft as I go along.
But so you said a few things though, one of which was it was really important for you to get the idea like just out of your head and down on paper. And then the other was that you gave yourself a word count. So would you talk a little bit about how that helped you?
I think that helped me with the consistency of writing more than anything. It's, at the end of the day, if my work had turned into 10,000 words, it had been 50,000 words, it wouldn't have bothered me at the end of it, really. I mean, there's kind of clear milestones that the industry sets in place, that a middle grade novel should be X amount of words. That really wasn't important to me. The important thing to me was to get a story out there. I think it was more in terms of consistency to say, right, okay, I'm going to write 500 words a day and make myself do that. Now, at first that was difficult, but as time went on and I developed the habit of it, it just became second nature. So I'd get up in the morning, and I get up at crack of dawn, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm awake before the birds are awake, and I'll sit down and I'll write my words then. Once I've hit that target, I feel a lot better in myself, and I can focus on other things. That might be editing it or working on marketing and things like that. But I think the word count more than anything was just those milestones that just kept me ticking along, and give myself a false deadline more than anything, because I work well to deadlines.
I understand what you mean. Totally.
Yeah.
Now, so were there times when you felt like maybe that little inner voice inside is sitting there going, this is crap, or who do I
Oh,
think
yeah.
who do I
Absolutely.
think I am, kind of thing, writing this? How did you get over that?
I think time more than anything. I think everyone doubts themselves. Some people more than others, and there'll be days where I think, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's never going to amount to anything. I can't write a book, and yeah, I'll have days like that. And sometimes I just needed a day off, just give myself a break. But I think with me, in life, I think for every down period that you have, it leads to something better. So yeah, I think it just ebbs and flows more than anything.
I like that you gave yourself permission to say, hey, I need to take a day off, or I need to,
Yeah.
Get some space here. And because the habit is a good habit to if you're trying to hone something, or you're trying to develop a practice, then obviously consistency is a piece of that to show up and to do the work. But there are times when it also feels like, am I forcing this versus allowing? And the space, it sounds like you created, allowed for you to basically, you're still writing in a lot of ways, because you're getting ideas, you're getting those thoughts, things are flushing out in your mind before it hits the page again. So it almost kind of is recharging in a way.
Yeah. I think you need that. You really do. I mean, I think my problem is I can work too much. I need to tell myself to stop sometimes. With all the many things that you have to do as part of writing and marketing, it's just, I don't know, it could go on forever. It really could.
So to your point, there is a whole nother facet of being a writer, of being an author, and that is the business side. It's so I have this book, now what do I do with it? So could you talk a little bit about what the marketing elements, or what that business side has been like for you as you've been venturing into this world?
Yeah, I mean, I've come from a retail background, so I'm used to selling things, so I think I've got a good understanding of that, especially like within a shop environment. But this is a complete new entity to me, because it's online selling. So I've had to rethink the way that I do everything. You've got to build yourself a whole platform. And to me, I see that as like a web of different things that are all leading to sales of your book. So that might be different social medias that are all feeding into it. Picking the ones that you're good at. There's so many out there. You could spend half your life just being on social media, and then that's a free way to do it. Building a website, which is kind of that's your selling platform. Even though I'm selling on Amazon, I want people to go to my website, because that's my space. Social media, Facebook could close down tomorrow, Instagram could close down tomorrow, and then I'd have no followers, I'd have no fans, and a book and no one to sell it to. So building that platform has been extremely important, and a huge learning curve. But you've kind of got to build this platform, this space that's yours, that informs people about you, that gives people an insight into you as a person, not as a writer. I think that's the most important thing. You've got to make yourself real. It's very easy on social media, especially, to become this, what you want people to see you as, or who you are, when really it's got to be about you as a person. The most successful people on social media tend to be the people that what you can see the whole life, warts and all, and being open to people. So from the social media side of things, that's one aspect of it. But then there's advertising. I don't think you can make a career in writing without advertising these days. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when Amazon began and started to boom, you could put a book on Amazon and it would sell, because you're only competing with X amount of books, maybe 1 million books on there, which just doesn't sound like a lot, but you're looking at 10 million books on there now. At 10 million books, how on earth are you going to get that seen by people? Now, the only way to do that is to learn how to advertise, to learn how to do, whether it's Amazon advertising, whether it's Facebook advertising, whether it's, advertising through Instagram. There's all different avenues you can go with a paid thing. And also, you want to attract people through your social media. It's a huge thing, and I'm learning day by day new things. I really am. No one ever knows everything, do they? So
no, but you're right that it is, but there's so many parts to this, to try to creating your world, your space, if you will, and all the time, all the while wanting it to feel like you have that connection with the people that you're engaging with, because that connection it's valuable. It means something. I think that's really cool that how you're thinking about all the different piece parts, but how to bring them more into your world and to be authentic in doing so that they're connecting with you. I follow you on Instagram, and so I know, for instance, like you share pictures with you and your boys, and the boys being the inspiration for the super twins, but also just showing that this other side of you exists, I think is really cool, because it's showing it connects another way with you, for instance.
Exactly. We are just human beings at the end of the day. Just because we got a title of a writer, it doesn't mean that we're any different to anyone else. So it's key to connecting with people that way, I think. And there's so many people who will just post something on Instagram or for example, and that's it. They just leave it. That's it. And they'll post in another few days and leave that. And there's no interaction with people. I always try that every single post that I do, I'll always reply to any comments on there. I'll ask questions of the people that follow me and try to get that interaction with them. That's why they're following me at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I'm totally with you that conversation, that connection, I think is really important. And so if somebody has taken the time to put a meaningful comment, put something to say, hey, this is speaking to me, I'm trying to engage with you. Absolutely. I'm like, thank you. I want to talk with you. That's so fantastic that it connected,
Absolutely.
That's so cool. So with Super Twins, how did the book get its name?
I think the inspiration's got to be my twins themselves. I remember probably a couple of years before I did the book, I drew a little comic strip, which I've actually got here, right? And I drew this on holiday one day, right? And this is the original Super Twins comic strip. I drew that on holiday.
Awesome.
And I've had that in the lads' room for years. And that was just based on holiday. I was going on a caravan holiday together, and I wrote this. I did this little cartoon, and that's where it came from. It was just like, right, I'm going to write the book of it now.
I love that. I think that is so cool. So did you design the cover, or did you work with someone else to design it?
I've got a fantastic lady called Kate Marshall, who's actually my brother's girlfriend, and she did the cover for me, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
it is. It's a really cute cover. It's really cool. That's awesome. Very, very cool. And just like you're saying, I mean, you had to come up with this idea and write this story, but then so you've mentioned an editor, you had essentially a designer or an illustrator, someone to help bring it to life for the cover, but also the marketing elements and that community building. There are so many parts to getting this book out so that it's shared. That's so cool that you have mentioned all of those parts in this. So what are you working on now? I've
just finished number 2, so Super Twins 2, the sequel.
Nice.
It's with my advanced reader team at the moment, and it's going to be released on the 24th of April. So it's all ready to go now, pretty much. I revealed the cover yesterday to my newsletter.
Nice.
So that should be coming on Instagram in the next few days, I would say. So
Nice, nice,
yeah.
nice. So you mentioned a term here. So would you help our listeners to understand what you mean by advanced reader team?
Okay, that's just I would class them as kind of a launch team. So the people who've I know or I've had an interest in the books, so I supply them with a copy of the book, and what they'll do, they'll have a read through and give me their honest opinion on them. And it's great for when I launch, because they'll be able to do an early review, so that when I do launch, I'll have a few reviews up on Amazon, so it doesn't look like nobody's interested in the book at all, and hopefully give a bit more credibility to the book. So I mean, it's absolutely fantastic that people are willing to help me and do that for me.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, because with this being my second book, I wouldn't expect anyone to help me out.
Oh, no, but that's really, I do think that that's really cool. And so do you set up some parameters or some guidelines, if you will, that says, hey, here's what I'm looking for, as it relates to, like, I'm asking you to do this. So
Yeah.
kind of setting expectations. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, so I sort of say, would you like to join? These are the kind of things that I want from the. I'd like you to post an honest review of the book once it's live. Read it before anyone else. Obviously, I'll give you a free book to do that, but it has to be an honest review that comes from it. And when it's launched, if you could share a few of my posts and things like that, that'd be fantastic. It's important when you're launching a book and getting reviews on there, the verified reviews on Amazon. So, anyone could post a review for one of my books right now, and it would come up on the site as a review, but it wouldn't be classed as a verified review unless they bought the product themselves.
And that they bought it through Amazon versus buying it from another site and then posting the review there. So if they bought it from Barnes and Noble, for instance, that wouldn't be considered verified.
Yeah, exactly.
But they could take that Barnes and Noble review and post it to something like Goodreads, which would still give the visibility of a review, but it wouldn't necessarily it would not be on Amazon itself.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what I want from it as much as possible. Goodreads is a fantastic thing to do it, and well, it's owned by Amazon now, isn't it? Goodreads. So if you post on Amazon and you have a Goodreads account, you can post on both at the same time.
I don't know if it moves it or if you can post it at the same time, but
if I post a review on Amazon now, because it's linked to my Goodreads account, it comes up on both.
Nice. Thank you. That's a really good tip. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that. Very cool.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't go in the reverse though, right?
No.
I didn't think
no.
so.
You have to do the review through Amazon. I think there's some way of linking it up. I can't just remember what, but yeah, you can do it. So it posts on both at the same time. Saves you having to do 2 reviews.
No, that's really cool. That's a really cool way to help readers, because they're in different forums. Someone on Amazon they might be looking, but they've come into that with a different mindset than going into something like a Goodreads, which is about the books. It's about finding a book you want to read. So it's a nice way of utilizing 2 different platforms strategically, really.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many platforms out there, though. It's like I'm starting to get a bit of a presence on Goodreads. I think I've got maybe 100 followers or something like that on there now. But then I look at BookBub, and that's another one, and I've got 2 people that follow me on there. So it's finding certain platforms and just concentrating on those, I think, more than anything.
Do you think you need to find something that you just feel comfortable using and that you're excited to use, or do you think that there's one platform? Like, how do you decide which platform is best for you?
I think firstly you look at your ideal reader. You've got to look at the audience more than anything. I know exactly who my ideal customer is. I've got a picture of exactly what they look like and their age, their occupation, everything. So I know in depth what my ideal person, my customer is, because my customer isn't the child,
That's
even though I
right.
want it to be the child. My customer is the parent. You know, my customer is generally the mum or the female of the family, because she's the one who doesn't always earn all the money, but she's the one that spends the money generally. And that's not being sexist in
Oh,
any way.
no.
That's just the way it is.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm looking at a woman who has 9 to 12-year-old kids. So she's from 35 years old upwards. And that gives me a rough grounding of what that person's like. So then I've got to say, right, so where does she hang out? You know, what social media has she got? Is she sat there playing on Twitter? Is she on Instagram? Is she on Facebook? Well, where is she? You know, and that's where you've got to work from, really. You can,
Those are
there's
awesome nuggets.
yeah, but there's so many different social medias to focus on. You could spend all day if you on all of them. I think you just got to pick one or two. I'm on Twitter, but I hate it. You know, I really do hate it. I'm just no good at it. I try and post on there, and I just can't get my head around it. And maybe I might have a post that goes viral, and loads of people start commenting on it, but I just get notification after notification. I don't really know what I'm doing with it. But whereas Instagram, you know, I'm at home now. I'm quite comfortable with it. You know, I've built up a nice following on there, and you know, I enjoy doing that. So concentrate on what you enjoy. You don't need to overdo it.
Yeah, and I love the point you just made about the customer is the parent, the client is the child in this case,
Yeah.
because when you're writing for, fiction or even YA or nonfiction, your reader and your buyer are potentially about the same. But when you're writing for children, you are really thinking about two different, you have to write one way, but you're communicating about it and marketing it and positioning it differently. But you still want the young reader, that client, to go, I want that. That looks cool.
Absolutely.
I want to read that. So it's straddling two different arenas.
It is, yeah.
And a nice balance.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about it. It took me a long time to get my head around that. It really did. You know, it's difficult. It is really difficult. It'd be great if I could just market to a child, then I'd sell millions of copies. I'd be fine, you know. But you're marketing to you want the cover to appeal to the child, but you want the blurb to appeal to the parents. You know, you want something that they're comfortable with the child reading. You know, something that's going to give their child a good message and motivate them to read. You know, those are going to be the principles behind it as well, haven't they?
But even the parents looking at the cover going, I think my child might like this. I think this is something that will appeal to them. But to your point, there's such an amazing feeling when you have learned that your book was something that they gave to this child that they love, who may or may not have enjoyed reading until they read your book, and your story connected to them in a way that they're like, this is cool. Where's another book? Where's something else that I can read? And then it just is like it's a continuing thing that they just, but it just took that one. It doesn't necessarily, it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it does. You know, it makes the difference. You know, I've got some reviews on Amazon, and they're clearly from the parents. I think the parents enjoyed it more than the kids. But then there's other ones that, you know, that my child's wrote this, and the child will write the review, and that's the thing that, you know, means the most. Awesome. You know, that's what you enjoy the most. Because
my gosh,
you've hit the jackpot there. That's the whole point. The whole point of it is to entertain the children. You know, okay, it's a bonus if the adults enjoy it as well. Absolutely, but it's all about the kids.
That's so awesome. That is awesome that you got a review for every child. That's fantastic. Andy, this has been so much fun. Where can people connect with you, and where can they get the Super Twins and be on the lookout for Super Twins, the sequel?
Yeah, I mean, primarily my website, andyslinger.com. I'm most of the time on social media. I'm primarily on Instagram. That's my main one, and I'm just Andy Slinger UK on there. All of my social media handles are Andy Slinger UK. You don't know how long it took me to get all the same ones, but they're all the same. So if you type in any social media /Andy Slinger UK, you'll find me there. And the Super Twins 2 will be available through Amazon, but have a look on my website and it'll give you a link straight there.
Awesome. Awesome. Andy, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.